Hey, sports card fans, it's John, Wade Boggs fan. Hope you're all doing well. It's time for another top 10 PSA vintage baseball card sales on eBay, this time for the month of December 2022. As I normally do, I'll be breaking down those top 10 lists to the cards from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. As is normally the case, some interesting card sales for the month of December. For the 1950s, Mickey Mantle cards do not dominate, although his cards do make a presence in the top 10 list. He does make a pretty good appearance in the cards from the 1960s. And of course, the 1970s are always very interesting to see what cards show up on that top 10 list. So let's get right to it. All right, let's start off with the cards from the 1950s. Coming in at number 10, we have the 1954 Topps Hank Aaron rookie card in a PSA 8 off center. This one sold on December 2nd, sold for $10,625. It was a buy it now. Now, the average VCP price for a qualifier in a PSA 8 is $7,175. A little hard to judge the qualifiers in terms of average price. There could be several different qualifiers. It may come down to eye appeal. This one's off center. There could be a miscut copy that may not garner as high of a price. Say as maybe that's something that's considered a little off center. But in looking up the sales history on VCP, I did notice that this same exact card sold for $8,100 on May 1st of 2022. That was a PWCC auction, so it was off of eBay. But as you can see here, this same card, once it hit eBay in December, sold for $10,625. At number 9, we have a 55 Topps Willie Mays in a PSA 8.5. Gorgeous looking copy of that 55 Topps Mays. This one sold on December 18th, sold for $11,325. It was an auction. There were 41 bids. The VCP average price for an 8.5 is $11,325, which was the same as this sale here. The reason being, the last 8.5 sold for $6,880 all the way back on November 11th of 2019. So about 3 years ago was the last 8.5 sale recorded in VCP, and that's why the current average matches this latest sales price at $11,325. At number 8, we have another Willie Mays. This is his 52 Topps in an old case, an older graded PSA 5. This one sold on December 28th for $12,200. It was an auction. 41 bids. The VCP average price is about $13,500. So I'm not sure if the fact that this was an older label, and maybe some people thought that it was a generous PSA 5. I know some collectors may not like the older slabs because they think that maybe PSA was a little bit more lax in their grading for the older cards, as opposed to maybe being a little more stricter in their current grading. So that may be one reason why this PSA 5 sold for less than the VCP average, knowing that Willie Mays cards tend to be currently fairly strong in terms of their sales. All right, on to number 7. We have a great looking 1957 Topps Mickey Mantle in a PSA 8. This sold on December 13th for $12,689. It was an auction, 77 bids. This actually sold for maybe around $1,700 under the VCP average price. So an interesting sale there, going below the average for this card in a PSA 8. Number 6, we have another 52 Topps Willie Mays. Now this one is in a PSA 4.5, but it is in a newer slab. And this one here seems to have a little bit better centering than this one here in a PSA 5. So this one is a half grade higher, sold for $12,200. This copy here sold for $12,969 on December 13th. It was an auction, 43 bids, still under the VCP average price for a 4.5, but it's interesting to see that the 4.5 sold for more than the PSA 5. Again, does it have to do with the label? Does it have to do with the eye appeal? This one again seems a little bit more centered, so maybe the eye appeal of the 4.5 garnered more attention than this PSA 5 copy, which was also up for an auction. On to number 5, we have another Willie Mays. This is his 51 Bowman rookie card in a PSA 4. Sharp looking card for a 4. Man, there's not too many things wrong with that card. It may be a corner issue that got the grade down to a 4. It's hard to tell through an image sometimes if there are any slight creases. Sometimes with a 4 you may get a hairline, a crease somewhere, but that is a gorgeous example of a PSA 4, sold on December 31st for $15,006. It was a best offer and sold above the VCP average price of $13,130. All right, on to number 4. We have a 59 Topps Mickey Mantle. Again, these 50 cards, you see a lot of these half grades being sold and getting making the top 10 list for December. This one is in a PSA 8.5, sold on December 1st for $15,145. It was an auction, 32 bids. The VCP average price is $17,328. The last 8.5 sold back in November of 2022. It was not an eBay sale, so it did not make my top 10 list for November because I'm only going off of eBay sales, but this one was reported in VCP for $18,600 through Heritage Auction. So as you can see here, within 1 month, one sold for $18,600, and this one on eBay sold for $15,145. Now, it's possible that the price reported through Heritage is the price with the buyer's premium. I believe it may be 20% at Heritage, so that may factor into the reported sales price on Heritage at $18,600 versus the eBay sold price of $15,145. On to number 3. We have another 51 Bowman Willie Mays. Now, instead of that PSA 4, this is a PSA 5.5. Again, it may be the quality of the picture, but this Willie Mays here, again, it may be just a brighter picture, but that seems to have a nice bright white border, whereas this copy of the Willie Mays in a higher grade, still nice centering, seems to be a little bit not as crisp of a white border. Again, it could just be the way the picture was taken for the listing. But this card sold on December 19th for $20,000 even. It was an auction, 56 bids. The average VCP price, $24,200. So generally speaking, I think Willie Mays cards have done fairly well, although a couple of these examples here show that some of these latest sales have gone below the current VCP average price. All right, on to number 2 from the 1950s is this 1952 Topps Jackie Robinson in a PSA 7 miscut. I'm not sure why this got a miscut versus off center. I'm not sure the technical difference between the two, but this one sold on December 16th, again for an even $20,000. This was a best offer. Now, what's interesting here is the VCP average price for a qualifier 7 is $8,673. Again, it's sort of hard to get the VCP average for these qualifier cards because there could be many different qualifiers, different eye appeal, and so on. But again, in my research, I happened to see that this same exact card, sold for $8,673 on August 10th of 2021, which again is the VCP average price. The reason being is since this was a buy it now or best offer, that the sale took place on December 16th. I believe there's a little bit of a lag that VCP gets that type of data as opposed to auction data. So the VCP average is going to move up based on this $20,000 sale. All right, on to the number one card from the 1950s for December. And yes, it is a 52 Topps Mickey Mantle. You can almost count on one of these mantles showing up. You know, if you want a 52 Mickey Mantle, they're not hard to find. They're just very expensive. This is it's in an older slab, but a PSA 4. Fairly nice centering. Again, nice colors. This one sold on December 4th for $89,769. It was an auction, 88 bids, but sold for about $9,000 less than the VCP average price. So not sure if this is a trend. Again, it could be the fact that it's in an older slab. I don't know. There may be various things going on, but you know, when you're talking about this high dollar amount, up or down by $9,000 may not necessarily mean that there's a movement, a big movement one way or another in this 52 Topps Mickey Mantle. All right, on to the cards from the 1960s. At number 10, we have a 1968 Topps Nolan Ryan rookie card. November, there were no Nolan Ryan rookie cards that showed up in the top 10 list, and here we're starting off here in December with the number 10 card. This one sold on December 3rd for $6,735. It was an auction, 26 bids, VCP average price $7,600. At number 9, we have a second 68 Topps Nolan Ryan rookie card, again in a PSA 8. This one sold on December 17th for $7,800. It was a buy it now. Again, VCP average price $7,600. So the number 10 was an auction, sold for under VCP average, slightly newer slab. Number 9, slightly older slab, buy it now, $7,800, $200 more than the VCP average. And number 8 is a third 68 Topps. December's making up for the lack of November, I guess. Third Nolan Ryan rookie card. This one sold on December 12th for $8,000. Best offer. Again, VCP average $7,600. So best offer on December 12th, above VCP. December 17th, a buy it now for $200 less, still above VCP. And then in early December, the auction was $6,735. So a fairly big swing there in those three sales through the month of December through either best offer, buy it now, or auction. Very interesting. On to number 7. We have this gorgeous 1968 Topps Hank Aaron All-Star in a PSA 10. Sold on December 17th for $7,800. It was a buy it now. The VCP average price is $2,299. Again, that's because the last PSA 10 sold back in May of 2022 for $2,299, and this buy it now did not make the data of VCP to affect the average price. But to go from May of 2022 to December of 2022, PSA 10 going from $2,300 to $7,800. Now I looked up the pop, there were only 19 PSA 10s. So I'm not sure if someone missed out back in May, figured with only 19 PSA 10s, that one may not show up for a while, and one showed up in December with a high buy it now, and they decided to pull the trigger. I don't know, but that's a pretty big jump in price for just basically 7 months in 2022. All right, on to number 6. We have this really nice 1960 Topps Mickey Mantle in a PSA 8. Nice solid red background there on that secondary image. Nice yellow there. Good colors, good centering. Very nice copy of that 60 Topps Mickey Mantle. This one sold on December 18th. It was an auction, sold for $8,601.99. There were 38 bids in that auction. The VCP average price, $7,980. Again, when you're normally dealing with PSA 8s, you tend to get fairly well-centered copies. But this one here sold for about $600 over the VCP average price. It may be worth it based on this great eye appeal for this PSA 8. All right, on to number 5. We have another Mickey Mantle. This is a 69 Topps Mickey Mantle, last name in yellow, which is the more common, in a PSA 8. Gorgeous looking card. I should know these 69s are very hard to find centered. So this is a well-centered 69 Topps, garnering a PSA 8 grade. Sold on December 1st. Best offer, $9,000. The VCP average price for a PSA 8, $3,693. So again, a huge jump up, or a sale well above the average price for a PSA 8. Again, normally when you have a PSA 8, they are fairly well centered, although maybe with the 69s, there could be 8s that are more off-centered than this, maybe sharper corners that still get a technical grade of an 8, but this is almost dead center perfect. So again, it's a best offer. So they know what they were getting into. This wasn't an auction that maybe got away. There was some heated competition, whatever. But interesting sale there for that 69 Topps Mickey Mantle. On to number 4. Another Mickey Mantle. 1967 Topps in a PSA 9. Now again, it looks a little bit off center, left to right. That may be the only thing that did not make this a PSA 10. This one sold on December 1st for $9,212. It was an auction, 26 bids. The VCP average price, $11,743. So even this PSA 9 sold less than the average. Now, there was a PSA 9 that also sold in December, which pushed the average up. And that one sold for $18,192 on memory lane. Again, I'm only reporting here eBay auction sales. And so in a PSA 9, there are 79 copies. There were only 2 PSA 10s. But again, it's interesting that through memory lane, and again, that $18,192 might include the buyer's premium, but still, that is a big discrepancy between the eBay auction at $9,200 and the memory lane auction 2 days later for $18,200. So $9,000 difference between 2 PSA 9 cards within 2 days in December. Very interesting. Number 3, we have a 65 Topps Sandy Koufax in a PSA 9. Nice looking copy of that card, sold on December 3rd for $12,000. It was an auction, but there was only one bidder. The VCP average price, $8,970. Now, what possibly pulled down in this case the VCP average is that there was a PSA 9 that sold for $6,540 on Mile High auction back in August of 2022. So here, this is almost the reverse. You have an auction, even though there was only one bidder, an auction on eBay that garnered a sale price of $12,000 versus a PSA 9 through Mile High that sold not quite for half, but close to half the price for same PSA 9. Now, the population of a PSA 9 for the 65 tops Koufax is 66. There are 0 PSA 10s. All right, on to number 2. We have this great looking 1963 tops Harmon Killebrew in a PSA 9. This one sold on December 10th for $13,200. Just like the Sandy Koufax, this was put up for an auction. There was only one bidder at that price, but it sold. The VCP average price, $13,200. Again, the reason why the average price matches this latest sale is that the last 9 sold all the way back in March of 2018 for $1,350, almost 10x from March of 2018 to December of 2022. Now, in this PSA 9, there are only 14 copies. There are no PSA 10s. So, again, very interesting. 4-year difference, 10x sale price between those 4 years. Very interesting. All right, on to the number 1 eBay sale for the 1960s for December. And it's the Pete Rose rookie card in a PSA 8. Somewhat older PSA slab. Definitely centering issues. That blue border at the top, though, looks nice and solid. Appears that the corners are nice and sharp. So the PSA 8 is most likely due to the centering issues of the card. This one sold on December 5th. Best offer, $15,000, about $1,400 less than the VCP average of $16,379. Again, it may just come down to eye appeal versus other PSA 8s that either sold or are currently out there. All right, let's get to the top 10 from the 1970s. At number 10, an interesting card. Again, these 1970s, you tend to see some of these, I call them registry cards, these common cards in very high grade that most likely someone building a PSA registry wanting a very high grade copy of some of these common cards. This is the 1970 tops Tom Hilgendorf PSA 10, sold on December 7th for $3,000. Now, this was an auction. There were 2 bids, but there was not a bidding war. It was the same bidder. So it was an opening bid of $3,000, and that same bidder went in sometime later to increase his bid to make sure that he got that card. The VCP average price, of course, is $3,000 because I believe VCP data goes back to at least 2014. There are no recorded sales, previous sales of this card in a PSA 10, probably because there were only 3 PSA 10 copies of this card. All right, on to number 9. We have the 1973 Topps Ty Cobb all-time batting leader card in a PSA 10. This sold on December 22nd for $3,200. Best offer. The VCP average price, $990. Again, with the best offer, it was buy it now or best offer. This sale did not hit the VCP data set yet, so did not impact the average. That $990 VCP average is due to a card sold in July of 2021. This same exact card, since there are not many copies, there are only 4 PSA 10s, this exact same card sold back in February of 2014 for $898. So 8 years, went from $900 to $3,200 for that PSA 10. All right, number 8. We have the 1975 Topps Robin Yount in a PSA 9. Older slab, but still looks very well centered. This sold on December 13th for $3,300. It was an auction, 29 bids, right around the same price, the VCP average price of $3,385. In a PSA 9, there were 266 copies. There were only 6 PSA 10s. Number 7. We have the 1970 Topps Willie Mays in a PSA 9. Now, if you notice at the very top border of the card, there is what looks like a white print line. I noticed this last month. I believe it was a 1970 Topps Johnny Bench All-Star card. In that case, that white print line was at the bottom border, and I believe that was a PSA 9 copy as well. So not sure. I've seen this on a few occasions with the 1970 Topps card. I don't know if it was the way the cards were laid out on the sheet to be printed and cut out. But on occasion, I've seen with some of these 1970 cards that you see a light white, almost like a print line, either at the top of the card or the bottom of the card. And that may be the only reason why this card did not get a PSA 10. At any rate, it sold on December 14th for $3,308. It was an auction, 31 bids, a little bit below the VCP average price of $3,785. Now, the last 9 sold for $5,250 in November of 2022, so the previous month, but that was a PWCC auction, not an eBay auction. However, that impacted the VCP average price. Now, in a PSA 9, there are 89 copies. In a 9, only 4 PSA 10s of this card. Number 6. We have the 1976 Topps Willie Stargell in a PSA 10. Now, looking at this card, I had an opportunity to get a much larger view of the image than you may see on the screen here. It is a somewhat newer PSA slab, and to me, I notice that there seems to be a little bit of some surface, some dirtiness in the surface near the top, near his Pirates hat, up into a little bit of that top border, and a little bit in the middle, and even bottom with the Willie Stargell. It looks a little bit blurry. I don't know. Personally, that may not affect the overall grade, but to me, that may be printing surface issues. A little surprised maybe that it got a PSA 10, but overall, great looking card. Centering is perfect. The corners look really sharp. Nice looking card there of Willie Stargell. This one sold on December 18th for $3,383.33. It was an auction, 67 bids. The VCP average price, $5,668. So it sold for quite a bit under the average. Now, there are 12 PSA 10s out there. The last PSA 10 sold for $5,520 back in July of 2022, but that was a heritage auction. Again, the 5520 may include the buyer's premium and may have some impact on that VCP average price. All right, on to number 5. We have the 75 Topps Mike Schmidt in a PSA 9. This one sold on December 20th for $3,880. It was the best offer. Sold for well above the VCP average price of $2,263. The last 9 sold for $2,850 earlier in December, but that $2,850 sale did not make the top 10 list. But it was another PSA 9 sold in December. There are 100 PSA 9s, but only 1 PSA 10 of this 75 Topps Mike Schmidt. Number 4, we have the 1971 Topps Thurman Munson in a very sharp PSA 8. So hard to find. 1, this card center, and 2, a clean black background with no chipping. Great looking copy of that Thurman Munson card sold on December 11th for $4,174. It was an auction, 47 bids, slightly below the VCP average price of $4,444. Number 3 is another 71 Topps Thurman Munson, also in a PSA 8. This one sold about a week earlier, December 4th, for $4,277, a little bit more than this copy here. It was an auction as well, 70 bids. Again, the VCP average price of $4,444. So back-to-back cards selling for a little bit under the average, but still fairly close for this great-looking 71 Topps Thurman Munson. All right, 2 more to go here. Number 2, we have the 75 Topps George Brett in a PSA 9, an older slab, but still, I think is still worthy of a PSA 9, although there is one of those little fisheye print marks down there in the bluish purple border on the right hand side near third base. Not sure if that impacted the grade or not, but this one sold on December 13th for $4,450. It was an auction, 30 bids, sold for almost spot on the VCP average price of $4,461. There are 314 PSA 9s of this 75 Topps George Brett, but only 10 PSA 10s. All right, on to the number 1 card sale for December from the 1970s. We have the 73 Topps Mike Schmidt rookie card in a PSA 9, sold on December 11th for $6,302. 28 bids, sold below, maybe about $800-900 below the VCP average price of $7,221. The last 9 sold in October of 2022 for $6,800. So there's 2 sales there that helped bring that VCP average price down, but 2 sales under that average. There are 250, believe it or not, PSA 9s of the 73 Schmidt rookie card, but only 6 PSA 10s. All right, there you have it, the top 10 PSA vintage baseball card sales on eBay for December 2022. Would love to know your thoughts in the comments on some of these cards that made the list. Do you have an idea on why some of these cards sold well above VCP average, below VCP average? Again, some of the data that I looked up may explain some of those, but as always, would love your thoughts on these group of cards that made the 3 top 10 lists. Well, with that, that's all I have for you. So until next time, thanks for watching.